Don't get your feelings hurt. Read this.
Oh, hey there, and welcome to Short Film Roundup.
Short film
roundup. Look at this new camera I got.
Wow, that's cool.
Is that a red?
Yeah, it's the new Blackmagic. It's a manual focus ring.
Yeah?
Yeah.
8K?
No way. Manual focus?
Yeah, manual focus.
How many stops of...
no stops.
Does it stop?
It doesn't have any dynamic range, actually.
Does it have any?
No dynamic range. And it is mirrorless.
Just makes, it's mirrorless.
Oh, it's mirrorless.
I'd pay extra for that.
Yeah, mirrorless is good.
Welcome to Short Film Roundup, the only place on the internet where you can watch three cursed filmmakers review and analyze your short films.
This is why we have black behind us, because it's just an eternal void.
It's just forever
that we're cursed to be here.
Look, yeah, we believe in aesthetic. It's not like we want to just. I would put something interesting here if
we had something. Sure,
if we could.
Yeah. There's just nothing here.
Yeah,
maybe we can put it.
It kind of hurts our filmmaker cred because people are like, "Oh, black background. That's sort of a cop out, isn't it?"
Yeah. Right.
Like, no, there's literally nothing.
There's nothing behind
it. Goes on infinitely.
Infinitely. So.
Throw a boomerang, it doesn't even come back.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Laws of physics don't even work here.
Right. Time doesn't work either. So.
Mm-hmm.
Hey.
What's going on?
Hey,
but we do have short films.
These people over here, guys that I'm talking to.
The Alchemists?
Film Alchemists.
Yeah.
Hello, Film Alchemists.
If you don't know what we're talking about, what are you doing?
Come join our cult. We have a cool Facebook cult dedicated to the philosophy of
all things satanic.
Filmmaking.
Oh.
Yes.
It's a filmmaker's cult. That's what it is.
Filmmaking cult.
And what we do there is deep dive into the philosophy of great filmmaking.
And Satanism.
Movies about Satanism.
And Satanism.
And Satanism.
Join us there, please.
There's a link in the description.
Yeah. If you're watching this on YouTube, go find us over there because it's
cool.
better.
It's better.
All right.
It's better than YouTube.
It is better than YouTube.
Oh, and if you happen to be watching this not on the group and you haven't submitted a film to us, submit a film to us and we'll tear it apart.
That's me.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
We could give your film the same treatment we're about to give to this poor sucker.
Speaking of which, what is this one that we're reviewing today? The First Time We by John Gardiner.
That's it.
That's it.
Why do you ask? You're the one who has all the answers.
I had it was a trick.
The First Time We by John Gardiner.
Who is a repeat offender who did Reproductive Cycles, which is another film we covered earlier on.
Yes.
A few weeks back.
Yes, a comedy about sex.
Yeah. And trying to conceive a child.
Clinical sex.
Clinical sex. Yeah.
Sex, what a chore.
There is a link to this movie we're talking about today, either above or below, depending where you are.
Depending where you are, yeah, that's true.
Hey, there's no sense of space here either, so how would we even...
somewhere around there.
Hopefully Facebook works again.
The First Time We, who wants to get us started?
It's up to you. You delegate that. I'm not going to take that power from you.
I'm not doing...
Oh, wow. Okay. I have power here. Oh, Taylor.
All right. I'll take it.
Well, now I'm offended. Go ahead.
The First Time We is a movie that is...
Directed by John Gardiner.
All
right.
You heard it here first, folks.
So, I was not a big fan of this movie because the voiceover was so constant. It felt like a show. We talked about this in the last episode of Show Don't Tell as a general rule for cinema, and this film felt like it was both telling and showing at the same time, but leaning towards telling. There's some visual, like if you muted the film and watched the whole thing, you'd understand that this is a relationship, and that they're maybe the first time meeting, and we see their relationship grow. That's pretty much what you would get out of it. And telling all these details is not very interesting. I was really... I kept imagining the actor, like the character, saying the things he's writing in the letter in the moment. Like, imagining the scenarios he's actually talking about.
You mean afterwards?
Yeah, for the letter. Oh. The stuff he's writing in the letter, when he's like, when I told you about how when I was young, I would always wear a tie, and if I couldn't wear the tie, I was crying.
And now we're stopping to imagine him telling her about that instead of just watching him tell her that.
Exactly. I want to see him say that. That even got so extreme to there was a point where we hear him doing voiceover and see him in a conversation setup talking. We see his mouth moving, and we just see him talking, and we hear a voiceover telling us, his own voiceover telling us what he's saying in that scene that we're watching.
I've seen
really
that gimmick
weird
used
to
a
me.
lot in movies, and occasionally used really well. But it's like usually just like very short, one time, super, and it's meant to be a gimmick.
Yeah.
Right. Like all of a sudden the narrator says, "And she said," and you see her mouth move, and it matches the narrator.
Yeah.
Right. And then people go, "Oh, that was funny because a man's voice came out of a woman."
Yeah.
And but it's a gimmick. And
Are you talking about the same part? You're talking about that?
Well, he's talking about the concept.
I'm deriving something from what he was talking about.
Gotcha.
But yeah, if you're already going to the trouble of shooting the two people having a conversation, we don't need to hear a narrator tell us that a conversation happened. It's just going to be much more powerful if we see the couple have the conversation.
The conversation itself.
Why would something like this not work in this film, but it worked in, like, what was the film that we watched that was all dialogue almost? Not narration, but dialogue.
Which one?
First Kiss?
No, it was between two guys that were talking about...
Palau,
yeah. In that one, it was almost 100% dialogue driven. We're talking
Yes.
about show versus tell kind of stuff.
I think that worked because it was in the moment, and you get to
didn't-
experience it with them.
You weren't separated from it.
Yeah.
So when you take the narrator perspective, it's like we've stepped out of the world and are watching it outside of time and space, as opposed to going with them and being a part of what's happening at
I'm
the
not
time.
sure I understand what that means.
It's harder to empathize with this movie than Palau.
So the way I would say that is that the Palau is a movie that we did before.
Last year, it was a nominee for
Genuity?
Acting
writing.
and writing.
or- yeah.
Acting.
Something.
Anyway, it was
One of them.
it showed something through dialogue, and I think this is something that we've talked about before, where good dialogue means that you're still showing people, but you're showing them. It's like talking around the subject instead of talking about the subject, or talking around, not putting in, what's the word when you're just talking about story? Exposition.
Mm-hmm.
Not just exposition, but talking about the exposition, and then having people derive the exposition from it. That's like showing something with dialogue, right? And that's what would you guys agree?
Yeah, it's when dialogue basically does the same thing as action instead of replacing action.
Right, and so that's not what this movie
Dialogue
did.
becomes action.
Yeah, and this movie was narration that was simply not showing anything. It
wasn't moving the story forward.
No, it was purely exposition.
Yeah.
It was saying everything that was supposedly happening. And that's another thing in this movie, is that there's a twist at the end where we understand what he was talking about wasn't in the past, but it's actually an imagined thing.
Yes.
That was totally lost on me.
I feel like that was actually the biggest flaw of this whole movie, is it was basically a setup and punchline format, a very standard format of short film. We set up an idea, and then we do a little twist or a joke or a punchline at the end. It's
very common.
This then that sort of,
and it's easiest to do.
Yes, and they can be very, very effective.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to do that, I believe that your payoff or your punchline or your twist has to be significant enough to merit the length of the movie.
Yeah.
It took us 6 minutes of him talking about dating this girl to get to him revealing that he actually hasn't said hello to her yet. And that's cute. It's a cute idea, right? The whole sentiment of this movie is, oh, that's cute, right? It's a warm, fuzzy, cute idea. And I think that works in 30 seconds. I think it works maybe even in a minute and a half. But 6 minutes of that, it's just not enough substance there. There's not... we needed something to sink our teeth into. We needed some character development. We needed some conflict.
Yeah.
Right? Just... Without any conflict, you get bored in 6 minutes.
Right. Yeah, I think the whole setup could have been just as it was, just a regular setup. But it would have been a lot more tolerable throughout the whole thing if we, like you said, had something to sink our teeth into, had something to follow. Because right now, what you're doing is you're doing what we're doing right now, telling you something about something, and just doing that for 6 minutes,
Another thing is that when you go on for 6 whole minutes without introducing any kind of conflict or anything, just telling, setting up, to me, it subconsciously creates the expectation that the turning point or conflict is going to be introduced soon, and we're going into a 6-minute second act, right? It's like, it felt like all of that was just a beginning of a movie, and now we're going to go into something interesting about this character, right? All this happened, but now what?
I think that was incidental on this one specifically. I'm not sure why, but yeah, it did feel like that to me too. There's another movie that we covered some time ago called, I don't remember what it's called.
But it was about a typewriter. Typewriter going, and it was same voiceover of a letter.
Yeah, he was writing to his dead girlfriend.
Right, and that one was the thing where you thought he was breaking up with her, but it turns out
he's letting her go.
He's letting her go, right. And that was interesting because maybe it was just shorter. I don't know.
Felt shorter.
It did feel shorter.
It's the same concept. It was like you think this, and it turns out to be that.
Yeah.
And it's all driven with narration.
Yeah.
I think we said a lot of the same things.
I think so too.
In that film.
Yeah.
That review of ours.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if we're
Let's
talking
go watch
about
that episode.
Yeah.
I wonder when you say something like it felt like a first act, if it's because that we're like having dialogue show us something else is revealing some sort of information about the character, about the story. And in here, all he's doing is talking about the relationship the whole time. I think as we're talking about the relationship, we learn more and more about the situation. We learn more and more about, okay, he's a sad guy and he came with her, and okay, we're building up to something here, but it ends up just twisting at the end, meaning that everything that we just absorbed was only meant for this ending, and it feels like there should be something more. I think because we've absorbed so much story, we've absorbed so much situational stuff, that we feel like we need more stuff to pay off. On
another kind of something you said there sparked this idea in my head that the ending and the way this ends, that Kenny put it that he was doing a law of attraction exercise by writing the letter, and then that was paying off at the end by him going to meet this girl. It made it feel like the whole movie was almost like the twist was like it was all a dream kind of thing, where it's like, oh, that whole thing we watched was actually just made up. He meets with this girl and it goes okay, but we don't know that. It could go terrible. And it's funny. We just don't know what the outcome was. To me, that ending felt really creepy. Yeah. And it felt creepy because I felt like he just like said what his life is going to be like with this girl, including the problems. And I'm like, that's really creepy when you haven't talked to her yet and that you're already planning your future. That's something that creepy people do. Yeah. And what is it? He said that like it would have been like if it ended on like a sting. Or like sting. If we like ended where he's like he stopped writing the letter and then we have the long shot of the girl right here, which is, by the way, this was a good cinematography technique to show us that she's detached from him.
Yes, I thought like the exact same thing. Yeah. As soon as you saw the shot, you realized, oh, they haven't met. You knew that immediately. Right. So that was cool. So that was really good. So yeah, if during this part it started playing that, like it would have been like, oh no, he's a serial killer. My brain was on such a different wavelength for the ending. Like right here, I thought that my thought was, oh, he's running into his ex. Oh, and she hasn't noticed him yet, and he noticed her and then wrote all this stuff down. Yeah. And was gonna like walk up to her and like hand it to her and then walk away or something like that. So you still felt like they were connected? I didn't. Yeah, I thought it was. I didn't get that it was a law of attraction intent letter until you said it. Well, I didn't get that either, but I felt. But you got that. I felt their dating life didn't actually happen. Yeah.
I don't know what the ending was so confusing for me. Like I didn't even get that. I
kind of
what
wish
happened?
That's interesting.
Again, I feel like the twist, the ending needed to have more teeth. It needed to have some more bite to it. And so like if he, instead of then going up and saying hi, if he had chickened out.
Yeah.
Like if he had taken his first step and then been like, oh no. And then like left, you know.
See, that would
tore
say,
up his letter.
Yeah, I would say that would say more things about what we just watched.
Right.
That would say like, oh, you don't have the guts to do all these things.
But that's what I mean. The punchline has to justify what we all just sat through.
Right.
And I felt like we sat through so much that the ending was, well, literally the punchline was a replay of footage we had already seen.
Right.
So I mean, it was not a lot of strength.
There wasn't a ton. Yeah, there wasn't a ton of it. That's interesting. You know, I want to bring up this film. I think I've brought it up a few times, called Black Hole, where it's a worker who discovers he has a hole that he can put on anything and reach through the hole and find out.
Yeah, I've seen that.
You've seen it?
Yeah.
So
short?
Yeah, he does things like put a hole on a vending machine and then takes the candy from the vending machine. What's cool about that is that it shows everything that he does with this hole, and it's just kind of playful because it's all visual, right? It's completely 100% visual, and then it has a payoff at the end because of what we saw at the beginning. So I'm gonna spoil this film. It's actually a really cool film to watch.
Sorry.
Link in the description. But he the ending is he takes the black hole and puts it on the safe, the company safe, and tries to get money out of it, and he ends up getting a lot of money, and then he gets greedy and tries to get in, and then the hole falls off after he crawls inside the safe. And what's neat about
He's stuck inside.
Yeah, what's neat about that is that whole the idea of him getting greedy and going inside the safe and everything pays off because of this idea that we're like, oh man, he could use that hole for so many things, you know, and we see examples pop up here and there and here and there, and it's like that could go on for maybe 8 minutes, and the effect would still be the same, you know. And I think it's because it's that powerful justification.
Because it makes you go, oh, there's consequences, or there's something has totally changed.
Yeah,
or
it makes you think about it.
Yeah,
you know,
like, oh, I didn't realize that. The hole could fall off.
Right,
and he's stuck in there.
Right.
Now,
So
you know?
we've talked about before how what a good twist does is it reorients or changes the context of everything you had already watched,
right,
and believed you understood.
Right.
So this did this, but so minimally, that it just didn't. It didn't do anything to you.
Yeah.
You know, if we had like really got invested in this relationship and was like really just feeling just so much joy that they have finally found love together.
Yeah.
And then finding out that it hadn't even happened, you know, that could work, but there's not enough character development to make the two feel like they're in love.
Right. Right. Or anything else.
Yeah.
Or anything else. I wanted to talk about real quick some technical aspects.
Please.
Can we do that?
Absolutely.
I know it's unreal, unheard of.
Sure, why not?
Before we do that, this intro. I want to talk about this intro.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved this intro. This is a really creepy shot. What the hell? Why does it look so creepy?
Because of her eyes.
Oh, because her eyes went black. She looks like Momo.
Oh.
It's Momo.
Oh. Oh.
Momo's real.
Confirmed. These first 3 shots, right?
Yeah.
They're all really cool.
Yeah, me and Taylor agreed after we watched it, and I was like, the first 3 shots were awesome. Made me think I was going to see a really interesting film. Not to say that the film wasn't interesting, but this shot and then the next shot, keeping it, what's the unfocused? Keeping it out of focus
I thought
like
it was
that.
cool.
It made me feel like we're going on an artistic
Do you think
journey.
that was shot out of focus or blurred?
Oh, interesting.
Can you tell?
I can't. I wish I could.
You usually know how to tell these things, D. Why can't you tell?
It definitely looks like this camera blur, but I'm
Gaussian.
It's not Gaussian.
That's a Gaussian
That's
blur.
not Gaussian blur. No,
I can
It's
tell.
fast blur.
Oh,
That's a Gaussian blur about
Here you go.
10 points in.
Watch the width of her legs. Do they get skinnier? And it looks like they do.
Yeah.
So that's organic.
Ooh.
D's a god.
Yeah.
D God confirmed.
Thank you.
God. D God.
D God. So after that, after those shots, it felt like it was just kind of something that something that the filmmaker decided to put in the beginning because it was visually interesting, but it actually pulled me in more than these in-focus shots did, because it allowed me to kind of infer what's to come. You know, I felt like we were about to go into a tone poem, and that would have been really interesting. The technical things I want to talk about are the cinematography choices in here. The shots all seem to lack headroom, and I don't think that's on purpose. Also, the frame rate is a little weird.
It's 30, right?
It is 30.
It looks 30.
Because there was one part where it seemed like 24, and the rest of it's 30.
Easy mistake to make.
Almost every shot lacks headroom.
I like the lighting in this restaurant.
I do too, yeah. But yeah, there's no headroom here. Even when he comes up and stands there,
Yep.
there's no headroom.
Headroom's overrated.
I guess so. I guess headroom's overrated. I just wanted to point that out. It took me out of the story because I kept noticing there was a camera there. You know, I see his head and I see it's cut off, and I'm like, why are you just lower the camera?
That's weird too.
Yeah, some of the editing choices were a bit
Good headroom right there.
odd too. It's okay headroom.
You know what, D?
I have another comment.
And she had too much headroom.
This is on his two films together. Now, am I right in my guess that this is the filmmaker, the actor? Is the actor John Gardiner?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
Or he just uses his favorite. This is just his favorite.
We can check
guy.
the
Can we check?
cast. It says Rich.
Rich Travel. So that's him.
Yeah. And Steph. Yeah, so it's probably Rich.
Okay. The voice of the two movies that John has sent us are the biggest weaknesses of both movies.
What kind of voice?
What do you
would
mean
that be?
voice?
What I mean is
literal?
this movie is dominated by this personality who is narrating and featured in the film. The exact same thing happened in Reproductive Cycles, and this could almost be a sequel to that one.
Yeah.
Right? In Reproductive Cycles, I felt like
Because it's like from one person.
the character who was narrating and telling the story, and we were going along with him, was too big for the rest of the story. He got in the way of the story. It's like Michael Moore in most of his documentaries. He has a very interesting topic he's always talking about, but he makes himself more interesting and important than the topic he is talking about.
And in that case, Michael Moore is more of a character in that kind of sense.
Yes.
But in this case, we're talking about the narrator, and that perspective is getting in the way, right?
Yes.
I'm talking about the actual words.
The words themselves.
Yeah.
Right, which is a part of it, yeah. I think that that if we had a much more minimalist character played by this actor in both movies, right, would have made a stronger overall movie, would have left some room for inference, would have given some breathing space to the other characters in the film.
I wanted to point out, kind of in that same vein, this part where he said, I think it was this part, where we have him talking over, the narration is giving them the lines, the Ant-Man thing. I'm going to call it the Ant-Man thing.
Oh, yeah. That came to mind, too.
It was weird the way they recorded it.
Yeah. Guys.
It was weird the way they recorded it because, so the narration was talking, and then there was a cut, and then he said their line separately, and then cut back into the narration, and there was a different rhythm there. It was like this. It's like Taylor sat there and played with his webcam, and he said, "Hi, Devon. Hey, how's it going?" And then he continued to play with the webcam, and it's like that rhythm was weird, and I'm not sure if that was on purpose or not, but I feel like what they did was they recorded this scene first. You know, they actually shot the scene and then recorded ADR afterwards to try to keep it in sync. I think what they should have done was record the narration all in one go and then shoot the footage.
To the narration.
Act to the
You're
narration.
Right. You're right.
That way the rhythm wasn't split.
I actually like the way they did that in Ant-Man.
Yeah,
They did it great in Ant-Man.
No, it was Ant-Man and Wasp.
I think they did it in both.
They did in both.
When he got like on the truth drug.
Yeah, they
He's
did.
on the
Yeah,
truth
they did it
serum.
in both of them. Yeah.
I think what I dislike about this kind of movie, the heavy voiceover thing, is I can't shake the feeling that I'm being forced to feel a certain way. And that's like the ultimate, we've talked about this a lot, the ultimate fine line of filmmaking is you want to make the audience feel a specific way, but you don't want them to know that you're making them feel that way.
Yeah.
And in this movie, like I feel like
You're hit over the head with sentiment.
Yeah, I feel like he's just sitting there,
Yeah.
like the filmmaker himself is sitting there telling me, okay, you're going to feel kind of all soft and mushy inside. You feel warm and fuzzy. That's like the equivalent, you know.
That's really interesting. I think that's actually like an individual by individual basis.
Yeah.
You know, people who like kind of being guided that way and people who don't like being guided.
Yeah.
Like inferring it themselves. I think all of us kind of err on the side of an inference.
Yeah.
You know, but like trying to figure it out ourselves.
Or at least having room to feel,
Have genuine feelings.
have genuine feelings and not feel like I have to feel sad.
interesting.
Or this
No,
or
that's
that,
it.
you know?
I mean, this told us about a feeling as opposed to trying to emote the feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's that soundtrack that did most of it, I think.
I think the soundtrack and the words.
Ugh,
And the
that
words.
soundtrack cannot go on for 6 minutes.
Yeah, that was a little repetitive.
That made
Yeah.
it feel really long because it was so repetitive.
Yeah.
So that
Sorry.
I'm not.
I'm sorry that
Did you
I'm,
score this?
Did you
movie?
score this movie?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was very repetitive. So
Yes.
It did slow down the pacing. Yep.
Should we do some questions?
Oh, this is the point where we ask questions directly to the filmmaker, Film Alchemists. You can join us in this. Please write your questions below, whether you be on YouTube or Facebook. And usually filmmakers are really good about chiming in and answering those questions.
Yes, sir. John. I'm trying to get away from the why question. I don't want to ask it.
I'll ask it.
You ask it.
Sure, but you go first.
No. You ask it. You go first.
Why? There. Why did you make this film? What was your motivation? What was your inspiration? Is there a particular message you were trying to convey beyond just the sentiment of, feelings of yearning and inadequacy coupled with the payoff of potential love?
Something to ask you, John, but also Film Alchemists and just everyone in total. When we ask the question why, this is more of a deeper kind of why. It's a more personal why. When someone points to my film Genesis and they're just like, D, why'd you make that film? I'm like, well, because, it was a film class and I had to make a film, so I wrote this one. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for personal reasons. Why did you choose to make this film? Why not any other film? Why did you choose the decisions you did here? Why didn't you choose to do other decisions? That's what we mean. A question that I have specifically for John is where does this film take place in your timeline? Is this one of an early film? Is this a later film, one of your more recent ones? Because I noticed a lot of things that I felt like were early directing kind of themes here, and I'm not sure if I'm sure if I'm reading that right. So if you could tell me where it is on your timeline, yeah, that's it, Taylor.
What does the voiceover technique do for you? Like, I know reproductive cycle wasn't exactly voiceover, but it was still a fourth wall break and talking to the audience. The character was, which I kind of feel like that's what voiceover sort of does in the same realm. So I'm curious as to what draws you towards that kind of style of filmmaking, and if you've ever done a dialogue-free film, or if that's something you are even interested in doing at all.
Did you ever have other ideas for how this movie would end? Did you start knowing how it would end? Did you toy with other options? Because it could have gone a lot of different ways there at the end. You stuck with hopeful, which means you're probably a good human being. Most of the things that came to my mind were kind of dark.
It's kind of weird. I kind of feel like more positive people go to more darker ideas and opposite.
I am a positive person. Maybe he's not a good person.
maybe John's an evil person.
Are you trying to express like feelings of positivity and love because you are in fact a demented human being?
Are you payman?
Are you a bad person?
Are you a demon? Oh, let me speak demon.
Dude, that's pretty evil.
That's disturbing.
Play it backwards. You'll be
John Gardiner. Thank you so much for submitting your film.
Seriously, twice.
Very much enjoyed both.
How many people like that much abuse?
Yeah.
What is that called? Masochist.
Masochist.
You a masochist? You ever do that?
You ever mass? We got full mass here.
Masticate.
Anyway,
masticate.
Yeah, it's like this.
That's chewing. Yeah, that's anyway. Thank you, John, for allowing us to do what we do
to you
again, and hopefully we get to do it again too.
Hell yeah. Send us another film.
I love you.
Aww.